Sorry. I'm just so excited.
Yeah, I'm ready when you guys are.
Excellent. Well, shall I play the music?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Here we go.
Wonderful. Ancient Chinese music brings us into an important Chinese film.
Been waiting for this moment.
So we, in between me suggesting this film and us having this meeting, Claire and I had a baby, obviously, and it's been quite a long time. How long ago did you guys watch this?
Almost 2 months ago, I think.
Wow, I've still got the credits rolling, so I'm all right.
Some things never change.
Superb. Well, at least it's fresh in Laura's mind. Fernando, how well would you say you remember it?
What about we just go with the episode and I'll see how well I remember it, because I just don't know yet.
So this was The Last Emperor, 1987. Just to refresh your memory there.
What made you pick this?
I'll tell you what made me pick it. So we've got the secret Oscars coming up soon, and I wanted to get one in there for Best Picture. And I saw this one. I saw this one a couple of years ago, and I was quite taken with it. I was quite impressed with it as a film. It really stuck with me. A few quite strong emotional moments, and it really felt like a big epic. And I thought, we want to see a big epic. And I know it won the Oscar in 1987. We've picked a couple that were just Oscar winners. And I thought, time for a great big epic. And we'd just watched Mulan, and that had me in the mood for maybe something kind of related with with the Chinese emperor in it. I thought let's go for it. And I hope everyone liked it. What did we think?
It was good, yes.
Well,
I loved it.
You loved it, did you say?
Yes.
Oh, that's nice.
Laura?
I liked it, yes.
Oh, good.
I did.
With
I wouldn't say
reservations?
I didn't love it.
Okay.
But I really liked it.
Awesome.
It reminded me of Barry Lyndon, which I really liked.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
How so?
Just this.
They were speaking English.
They were speaking English. Yes,
Yep.
that was the first thing that occurred to me. I was like, wow, this is like Barry Lyndon.
Definitely. Big connection there.
Just this hugely epic backdrop, and really, when it came down to it, a very slow, careful, considered portrait of a single man and his very interesting life.
Yeah, it's a biopic, isn't it?
Yeah, that'll be it. That's the
a biopic.
But I think maybe the cinematography a bit, the fact that everything was so beautiful and painting-esque.
Yeah,
and we had a lot of very slow shots of just amazing. Yeah, no, it was.
Do you think rather than biopic, it should be bioepic when it's like a really big one like this, or Barry Lyndon?
Yes.
I think we should coin a new phrase.
Bioepic.
Those two should be two different words, yes.
Yeah.
It's done.
It is done.
Yeah.
So this was a highly influential bioepic. Yeah, okay. I'm glad you guys liked it.
Yeah.
I can see the comparison to Barry Lyndon, definitely. As we know, after we discussed this, but Barry Lyndon was originally going to be a biopic about Napoleon Bonaparte, and only was changed later on to be the story of Barry Lyndon because of issues Stanley Kubrick had organising things. So in a way, it's all suited to be the story of a great ruler. But maybe this wasn't the story of a great ruler. What did we think of... Laura, sometimes you've had trouble with films when you don't like the main character, and that can sort of spoil the film for you. Did you have trouble with that here?
No, the thing is, I did like the main character. He had moments where I was like, you're a bit of a bastard, but he was so handsome. I felt like Fernando. I could forgive a lot of things for a handsome face.
Yeah, okay.
I didn't like it when he threw the mouse against the door, because I really thought he was going to release the mouse and it was going to be a beautiful symbolic moment where the mouse can go out and live a grand life.
Yeah.
But no.
No, he just killed the
So
mouse.
that turned me off him for a good while.
Well,
but I
he
grew to like
released
him again.
him from his life and put
Wow.
him into heavenly life.
I suppose that's true.
Is that how he saw it?
Is that how he intended it?
And he threw it against the metal door with a glint in his eye as if to say, "Now you're free, little mouse." Or was it more sort of murderous rage?
It probably was more murderous rage.
I think the only reservation I had was that eventually I got a bit tired of cutting back to the camp. Maybe.
Oh, which camp? Oh, yeah, the re-education camp.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know why, because I really liked that in the beginning, but then I found as I went on, I was more and more relieved every time we'd return to the past.
Yeah, okay.
So I started to get a bit fed up of that. But I don't know, maybe it just needs to sink in a bit more.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Me? Yeah, I thought the frame story was an interesting one. The frame story with the flashbacks. This can work very well, and it worked well in like Titanic, primarily because they didn't overdo it. You could watch Titanic for like an hour without it cutting back to the submarine, right? And that's probably good. Yeah, I'd say they probably broke it a few too many times. But the contrast there was one of the things that made this film so striking. I think the biggest thing I took from this film was just, oh my God, in like 40 or 50 years, which is easily within a person's lifetime, China utterly transformed itself and became unrecognizable. And not only was that, it a short enough time to be someone's lifetime, it really was one very particular person's lifetime who lived through it and had a big impact on it. And that, yeah, the first cut back where we've seen him in like this prison camp, and then it says, not even much earlier, it's like 30, 35 years earlier, and there's these, the first shot is like a medieval gate being opened and horsemen coming out with these crazy outfits on, playing these weird instruments, and it just felt like going into another world. And that contrast was really, really amazing for me. What did you think of the sort of the frame story, Fernando, where we're looking back on it from the future?
Well, I greatly enjoyed the movie. I always enjoy learning about history. Specifically, I've always been interested. Well, I'm not sure if always, but I am interested in China. I enjoyed learning about the new emperor. I was also amazed by everything that happened and how he was treated, even though he, I guess technically was emperor for. I read the Wikipedia page, and I think he was only emperor for about 2 years or less than that. I think he was forced to abdicate when he was 4, I think, or at a very young age.
Yeah, because of the Republic taking over. But he was still emperor within the walls of the Forbidden City, wasn't he?
Yes. So that also made me think, well, you also made me think because of what you just said, how much power did the previous emperor, which seemed to be the Dowager Empress, how much power did she have over China? And how could it have been such a radical change how could it have been so quick in changing? And what caused it? What else did I think? Well, as I said, I read just a little bit more on the Wikipedia page, and apparently he was a little bit more mean to everyone around him. So maybe he wasn't as much a likable character as he was portrayed in the film.
Okay. So I found him quite dislikable in the film.
What? Well, only towards the end, right? As in only when he wants to be emperor again, and he is aided by the Japanese, and then
I guess so. Even from
he was
early.
young.
I don't know. I think I saw something quite ugly about his character when he was young. To some extent, he was a child and he was sort of innocent, but
he was very naughty.
He was very naughty. Yeah, he didn't entirely understand what he was doing. He couldn't entirely be held responsible for it. But stuff like making the tutor drink ink from the pot just to show that he was emperor. There's a certain cruelty to that. And even other stuff that he was doing that was just sort of fun to him was mostly just messing around with the eunuchs and having them run after him and stuff just for entertainment. And that, it pointed to the sort of an unpleasant side of what you'd call privilege, I guess. He didn't deal well with having power.
That is true, and I guess the question would be, why would they be obeying him if he was no longer emperor anyway?
Yeah. Well, we learned about that, didn't we? They wanted to stick around because of the wealth and riches
things,
that could have. Yeah.
Yes. But they could still steal things. As in, they could still kill him and keep everything.
But I suppose as soon as they kill him, they
who is going to know that he's no
source of cream, right? they want to be skimming a little off. They want to keep the whole process going so that they can just gradually make themselves wealthy and just live in their sort of comfortable lifestyle.
Oh, what did you think of the British tutor?
I liked him.
Love him.
You loved him, yeah.
Yeah.
He was such a colonialist, wasn't he?
I know, I hate that I loved him.
Yeah. Why do you say colonialist in particular?
Oh, it was just a classic, upper class. I was going to say Englishman, but he was from Scotland.
Yes.
Coming into whatever country it is, educating them.
Yeah.
Teaching them moral correctness and just so patronising and
With respect to, I guess, teaching other people, so there are two things that surprised me. One, that the last emperor was actually very recent, was in the 19-something, when I tend to think of Chinese emperors like being like really ancient. And also, I think, even though I do not know for sure, that China was like very, very important in the past, and it was like a center of knowledge, and people from neighboring countries in Asia would go to China to learn things. So I wonder, what was he there? What was there to teach if China was the center of the world, I guess?
Yeah, why would you want a European tutor?
And I think the answer is China at that point in history was at almost a uniquely low point in terms of how great a power it was. It was this enormous country with a huge population, but they'd utterly failed in the race for colonial empires. As we know, for whatever reasons, Europe began to dominate that very late on, not till the 1500s, 1600s. At any time before that, China would have been this place of knowledge where barbarians from Europe would maybe go to learn things, but just at this unique point, they'd fallen behind in all of these ways and ended up as a weak power.
One of the reasons suggested for that in Guns, Germs and Steel was that it's because China was one nation. It didn't have the inherent competition that European nations had. So if the Spanish did something, the French wanted to do it as well. And so that really accelerated technological development and meant that Europe became more powerful more quickly, whereas China was one country that was a success for one part of China was a success for the whole whole nation, so it didn't have that same drive, is one theory.
That is probably true in combination with the fact that China, well, I get, and countries over there are like massive, right? As in, because yes, it is just one country, but they also, as in, they do have some other countries neighboring, like India, Mongolia, and Russia, which seem to be very active in the past. But maybe because China was just so massive that even though it technically does have neighbors, maybe.
So
yes,
ancient China could be compared to ancient Rome in the sense that it was a sort of all-consuming power that dominated the known world, and the only places that the Emperor of China didn't dominate were places that the Emperor of China didn't really know about, in the same way that Rome saw itself as like this is the Roman Empire, and all those bits around the outside are just sort of, edge barbarian people who are dimly aware there might be some kind of other great empire on the other side of the planet, but they didn't really have any contact with them. And whereas the Roman Empire fell and gave rise to these warring barbarian states, which became France and Spain and the UK, that didn't happen to China. China just maintained this colossal empire to the present, which is weird if you think about it.
That is weird.
Yeah. Or maybe it's weird that the same thing didn't happen in Europe, that there wasn't a continuous single power dominating over here.
Wow.
Wait, the Roman Empire was very, very long, right?
Well, it was the dominant power in the Mediterranean world for 500 years.
Well, more than 100 years. More than 500
500 years?
Right? More than 500.
Well, the Eastern Empire stuck around for a while afterwards, but it wasn't the superpower that Rome had been at its greater extent. Yeah, we had the Byzantine Empire for another 1,000 years after the Western Roman Empire fell, but it shrunk, and it wasn't such a big deal later on.
But I think it makes sense that smaller states sort of gradually form. If we're going to have move beyond basically warring clans, if you're going to have regional government, those regions have to be fairly small to be wieldy. It can only get so big before you'd expect it to collapse in itself, like Rome did.
Yeah, okay. So why didn't the same thing happen to China?
Yeah. Don't know.
All pieces of the puzzle.
Maybe it will. Maybe we're just not far enough into history yet.
Yeah, nothing lasts forever, I guess. Anyway, so we had at this point in history, China had sort of become a lesser power, and it made sense that an emperor who wanted to be successful on the world stage and wanted to be a modern person would have looked to Britain at that time, who had successfully beaten the rest of the world into submission through various sorts of evil. We see a very similar thing with what's the musical called with the King of Siam, the King and I. She is a tutor, isn't she, for the children in the palace? Who's there to teach them modern things because she's from this supposedly enlightened country where they know all sorts of things, and there's that clash with the old Asian value system, and I think that we saw some of that here as well, but without such catchy songs.
Bicycles, though.
Are there bicycles in The King and I?
No, I don't think so. I think that's where this one, is a one-up. I loved the Emperor riding around on his little bicycle.
It was good, wasn't it? Oh, it made me feel really bad for him. Yeah. Because that was sort of his only freedom, and he was just so trapped in this place, and yeah.
Well, apparently that place is like really, really big.
Yeah.
So
You can do tours of it now.
Maybe we should go.
Add it to the list.
We should go. I think we should move to the Forbidden City and live there.
This is after we've gone to St. Petersburg, right?
Yes.
Just do a tour of scary places where we're going to
jump.
Yeah.
I think we should do the Forbidden City first.
Forbidden City first.
Just to make sure we get to see it.
Yeah, if we're going to Russia, that's you sort of sort out your will and stuff before you go there at the moment, right?
That's actually the case in Somalia.
Really?
Yeah, if you go to the tourist information board for Mogadishu, they recommend that you update your will before you travel.
That is a very interesting tourist campaign, I think.
It is, isn't
It's
it?
a bit like when the Lemony Snicket books came out and they said, don't buy these books.
Okay.
Too scary for you guys.
Oh, I see. They're trying to attract adventurers, I guess.
Yeah, update your will before you come here.
Can you handle Mogadishu? Are you extreme enough?
Oh dear.
It's an interesting read, though. I recommend go and have a look.
Wow, yeah, that's interesting.
Don't leave your hotel. Just don't.
I was like Turkey then.
Yeah,
or the south of France, or
like a
Greece,
package holiday, an all-inclusive holiday, but with less banana boats.
You don't know that.
That's true. I don't know that.
So the film.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I liked Peter O'Toole. It makes me. I've never seen Lawrence of Arabia, but I'm dying to watch it now.
Aha.
The voice drove me insane. Did you guys recognise his voice when he started talking? Do you know him from other things?
I've seen Lawrence of Arabia, that's it.
Right. Interesting. Well, have you seen Ratatouille?
Oh, is he in Ratatouille?
He's the critic.
Oh, he's the critic. Is he not dead?
No, he's ancient. Is he still? He might be dead now, but...
He's old enough in 1987.
Oh, he died in 2013.
Shame. Well, hell of a career.
He was born in 1932, to be fair, which is quite a long time ago.
Oh, yeah, that's a very long time ago. But yeah, to be in Lawrence of Arabia and Ratatouille, that's a long-reaching career. It's not quite Christopher Plummer, but it's not bad. Yeah, I thought he was. I liked Peter O'Toole in this. What was he called? Johnston. He was
Sir Johnston.
Yeah, he seemed like he was trying to do his best. He was trying to do the right thing, but he also had this utter certainty about himself, this assuredness that what he was doing was right. It was, I think, all the best parts of like the Eton Harrow model, just educating someone to have complete certainty of themselves and being presenting themselves as the perfect gentleman. And this was a very positive spin on that. I'd like to know how true it was, or whether he had a darker side, or whether his arrogance actually caused problems. Yeah.
He's still a bit uncomfortable, as you already said, Claire. The sort of colonial undertones of it. Even though he was so likeable and charming, he is trying to... I mean, that's what made me think as well that this film is made for Western audiences. I thought it should have been in Chinese.
Yeah.
Like, it was weird that it was in English.
I was going to ask about this.
Yeah.
In fact, this takes us back to one of the first films we watched together, which was The Breadwinner. And I mentioned this weird thing I'm never quite sure about, which is it's a film that they've decided to do in English so that bigger audiences can understand it, but they decided to do the foreign language by just talking English with a funny accent. Like no one talks English like that. Shouldn't they all have been speaking with like native English accents because they wouldn't actually have been speaking in English for this whole film? It's an odd one.
Yeah, if you're Chinese actors whose native language is Chinese, presumably Mandarin, should they be speaking Mandarin? I take it they speak Mandarin in Manchuria.
I've no idea.
Don't know.
I bet they didn't.
Maybe they don't speak. Maybe the actors don't speak the language that they used to speak in Manchuria.
Yeah, I mean, maybe half the actors were Chinese Americans. I've no idea.
I thought there was a bit of a twang in his tween years.
Okay.
I thought it was very impressive how the teenage, is it Puyi?
Yeah.
Had the same intonations in his voice as adult Puyi. Just like how they spoke made me feel like it was the same person. It was, I thought it was remarkable.
I did forget several times that there must have been 5 actors for Puyi, and it sort of defied disbelief in a way how similar they looked and how well they had them act in such a similar way. I think they did a good job with, I don't know, voice training or something. Yeah.
Which Puyi was your favourite Puyi?
Oh, my favourite Puyi. I think teenage Puyi, the sad Puyi.
He was the most interesting, wasn't he?
Yeah, when he meets Johnson for the first time and shakes his hand off, and you see him making all of these connections in his head, and he's done a lot of reading, but he hasn't quite understood it all yet. He's learned all about the different countries, but the main thing he knows about the countries is what happened to the emperors in all of the countries.
Yeah, same, I think. What about you, Fernando and Claire?
I think Tiny Puyi was my favourite.
Tiny Puyi was good.
Yeah, he's so naughty.
Sweet. So naughty.
I did not like Tweeny Puyi though.
No, he was the worst.
Oh.
Fernando?
I don't think I have a favorite. Maybe I have a least favorite, which is the older one, the one who wants to be emperor.
Did you not find him handsome?
I did not find him handsome.
Really?
No.
Oh my
Maybe
god!
that's why I did not like him. Yes, that's absolutely right. Yes.
You like him when he sang the song in his 1920s apartment.
Love that.
What was his name he'd chosen for himself?
Henry.
Henry. He was just so inconsistent. That's what was brilliant about it. There were so many different sides to his character. He wanted to sort of be an enlightened modern emperor, but at the same time he wanted absolute subservience from everyone. And he wanted to be, Henry from New York, but at the same time, when his second wife wanted a divorce, he just said, "Nobody can divorce me," meaning because I'm the emperor. And I'm appointed by God or whatever. It just thought he was so, there were so many flaws, so many inconsistencies in his thoughts and his character, and it was brilliant.
He was so human,
so very human.
Yeah.
Did you want him to go west?
I think I did.
I wanted him to go to Paris and London and America because it seemed like that was his life's dream.
Yeah, and that was also his quiet dream that would stop more people from being hurt, which was good. But instead he went for this sort of tyrannical dream where he collaborated with the Japanese, and it was not good.
Did he see that as his responsibility, or was it a clutch at power?
I think it was a clutch at power, because he abandoned the Chinese throne and set up a new state.
Yeah.
I don't think he could have seen that as his responsibility or his duty. I think he saw it as his right, and that's an ugly part of his character for me.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. Imagine if you spend from the age of 3 or whatever being told that you're the son of heaven and the greatest thing ever, and then by 11, 9, it's all gone. Just disappointment. Everything's been taken away from you. You're just trapped in a city to rattle around it empty until even that's taken away from you. So you're promised all this greatness and you're just a constant disappointment to everyone and yourself.
Oh, it's sad.
It was a sad film, yeah. It was a very melancholic film.
Yeah. Yeah, it's certainly that the world hadn't treated him fairly.
Yeah.
Just a bit more love and a bit more understanding for him could have made him more content. I don't know.
Did anyone love him?
Hardly.
But people liked him at times. I think the tutor loved him.
Yeah, the tutor certainly cared about his welfare.
Yeah.
I think he
getting him the glasses and stuff.
Didn't he? Yeah, that's
his wet nurse did, his mother did, and his first wife did, I think.
Yeah.
I think she cared a lot about him, at least earlier. Yeah. But he ended up alienating her, didn't he?
Mm.
Yeah.
The Japanese, they loved him. Maybe not. I loved I guess it was obvious, so I'm not saying this, not having this one for symbolism, but it was the way, do you remember he ran after his wife when she left?
No.
When he was in Manchuria, she stormed out one day and someone said, the Empress is leaving, and he ran down the road to get to her car, but her car went out of the compound and the gates shut, and these soldiers who were nominally his soldiers wouldn't let him out. And that was exactly what had happened when he tried to get out of the Forbidden City on his bike, when the sort of half Republican, half Emperor's guard stopped him from leaving. And you realise he was just in exactly the same situation. He was just another symbolic emperor who was only there so long as he could do something for someone, and he was going to just get knocked out of power the moment that someone more powerful found him inconvenient, whether that was the Japanese or whether it was the Russians or the communists or anything. It's, quite something.
Both those times he lost someone, didn't he? He wanted to go and see his mother the first time.
Yeah.
When she had died.
Oh, yeah.
Those were very human moments of grief. And he was locked into his symbolic position, his role as emperor, rather than any sort of human. Rather than being treated as a human. Oh, poor Puyi.
It was sad. What did you feel about his... Because I think we're meant to think that he found his peace in the end after his re-education. What did you think of all of that?
I don't think he found his peace. I think he always lived troubled by his past and not being able to go back to it.
Yeah, you think he wanted to go back and be emperor again, even to the end?
That's why he went to the... Well, probably that was just fiction, but that's why he went back to the Forbidden City.
You think?
I disagree, I think. I think this time he became another puppet, but for once outside of the film.
Oh.
Can I pull this thought I've just had into...
Could you elaborate on that?
No.
That's what our man Melvin Bragg always says. Could you expand that for us, Laura?
Does anyone ever say, no, fuck off, Melvin? You take it or leave it, all right? So you do some of the unpacking stuff. No, I can't. Give me a second. Okay, so we've transitioned into more of a modern China, right? I mean, this is where my history is just going to let me down.
So they're mid-60s, Chairman Mao, cult of personality.
Yes. Oh, okay, no, this kind of fails because they don't like that now either, do they? Oh, dear.
They kind of try not to talk about it now.
I think it was a rejection of the imperial stuff because we see the Forbidden City being opened. And that's why we end on the museum, which is that it's a letting go of the imperial past. So the fact that he can return and he's naughty and he goes up the steps. It's just like I don't know, not pissing on what power he had. And now he has to sneak up. Oh, yeah.
As a kid, he did that, didn't he?
Yeah, I loved that.
I didn't get that at the time.
There's some
down
mirroring.
the middle partition of the steps rather than going up the steps on the outside, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a nice touch, I thought. And that was a very explicit call all the way back to the start, because he gets the cricket, of course, that was in one of the first scenes.
That is an old cricket.
I think we... Yeah, I think that's where we maybe think that this was a flight of fancy, and we question the reality of the film.
Dare I say, symbolic.
Aha! Was he not always brilliant? Was Pu Yi a cricket in a cage?
Oh, brilliant. Didn't occur to me.
Perhaps just to chirp and to sing, but never to be let free.
Well, he was finally released at the end, wasn't he?
Oh, he was finally released.
He was a mouse in a bucket.
Oh.
Is that a classic symbol? It should be.
I think we are meant to think at the end that it's good that this has happened to the Forbidden City, that the Forbidden City is now no longer this bizarre, dysfunctional place propping up a tyrannical kingdom, that it's now become, property of the people, and that people can enjoy it for the sake of history and understand it. I think that's meant to be a good thing. But it all, and I think we're also meant to think that Pu Yi has accepted that. That's how it seemed to play to me. Did you think so, Fernando? Or do you think he was still resenting it?
Maybe I thought that he was resigned to that fact. Not that he accepted. Well, if you resign, do you accept it? Maybe the word that I would use is he resigned himself to that fact. And if resigning yourself to something means accepting it, then yes, only as far as it means that you're resigned to it.
I was thinking about how in the parade he defended the prison guard when he found him. This guy who sort of tormented him, made his life a misery. He protested at his own personal risk to say, this is a good man, you shouldn't do this to him. He must have accepted something that he'd learned in the camp.
I think he did. I think he repented genuinely when he saw the atrocities happening.
Yeah,
I'm not
when
sure.
he learned quite how bad what the Japanese were doing was.
Yeah.
And then he just wanted to be left alone, didn't he? And
it's nice that he just got to garden. It didn't seem like there were very many gardens in the Forbidden City, or they didn't show us any.
No, he never had the chance just to create something, did he? And make it grow. It was a nice conclusion for him. It did make me think, is this a slightly rosy picture of communist China re-education camps?
Yes, that's what I wondered that as well.
Yeah, when the two participants in this exchange are, Mao Zedong's Communist Party and collaborators with the Japanese in the Second World War, it's a little hard to choose between them. But it occurred to me that this film came out around the time of the Tiananmen Square massacre, and it was a bit of a funny look, sort of showing the Communist Party as this enlightened force, but then I guess they were showing the other side of it. They were showing this cult of personality with the people being paraded through the streets, and we weren't meant to approve of that, and we also weren't meant to approve of the other interrogator who was just frothing at the mouth because he was so furious and just an absolute zealot, and that maybe there were some, maybe we were just meant to think that it was this one person was trying to do some good. So I don't know. It made me think carefully about who exactly was making the film and what influence they had.
I think
it was an
especially
Italian film, but
yeah, exactly. There was an Italian filmmaker and the Chinese government let him, the first Westerner to film in the Forbidden City. I read.
Is that right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And it did make me think, did they ask to see the script first?
I think they had. I don't know if they had any influence over it, to be fair, but I think they would have protested heavily if they hadn't liked the spin that he was putting on it.
Yeah, but then I don't know how it works with films, whether he pays them and tells them this is what he's going to do, and then afterwards he can cut it however he likes, or quite what. But it made me think carefully. I don't think the 1980s Chinese Communist Party were just saying, "Oh, let's just be the bigger, let's be the bigger person and just let him say whatever he likes." But on the whole, there's nothing obvious that I could point to and be like, "Yeah, that's Chinese propaganda." It seemed quite fair on the whole.
Yeah, I don't know. It had a bit of both elements, where, like you said, there were some surprising things that it showed in stark reality, but other things that were incredibly rosy. And yeah, I don't know.
I thought about So Long, My Son in the same way. I think we talked about that.
Yeah.
It had some criticisms of the regime in it, and I wondered how much they'd got away with that and how much they'd, had other things suppressed or what. Yeah, it was an odd one. I guess we've got to, take it for what it is and try and make up our own minds on what happened. As a story about this one man, I thought it was sensational.
Yeah, apparently they edited out the disturbing scene for the Japanese release. Do you know, like, what they call it? The rape of Nanjing.
Okay.
They edited it out. Oh, right. I wonder why.
Too upsetting for Japanese people.
I see.
Too sensational for Japanese audiences, apparently.
Wow.
Oh. I wouldn't have thought they were really punting for the Japanese audience, but there you go.
Yeah, I don't know. I do know there's an extended cut of this, which is, I think, about an hour longer.
Really?
Yeah, so this was 2 hours 43, and the extended cut was 3 hours 40, which was cut for broadcast on Italian TV. And I've got it. I got part of the reason I said The Last Emperor was they've just released a new 4K edit of it, which I got. It's from Arrow Films, which seems to be this sort of film lovers collective. Where I got this gorgeous case with a booklet in it with loads of like stuff in it. It comes with a poster, and it comes with a bunch of postcards with scenes from the film on, and sort of lovingly restored thing, a bit like the Nosferatu version I got. I thought, do you know what, this will be the way to do it. But that comes with a second disc, which is the extended cut. So I kind of want to watch it.
Yeah, I'd like to see it. I think I'll leave it a while, though, and watch it all at once, rather than just watching the extra hour.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm thinking the same.
Yeah.
Well, come round in a couple of years.
Lovely. Let's try and remember that.
We can watch the extended Cinema Paradiso while we're at it.
Throw in the extended Lord of the Rings. Got ourselves a weekend.
Excellent. Oh, do you know, that sounds like a brilliant weekend. I'd really love that. Get a couple of pizzas in. Have
the really big ones.
A few drinks on the Saturday evening, and yeah, we'll talk.
By the Sunday, you're stumbling out into the light like a little mole. Oh God.
Well, Fernando and I watched, did a playthrough of the whole of Cardcaptor Sakura in 3 days.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
That was quite something.
It was so good.
Yeah.
We should do it again.
Well, I am watching it again now. It's
I'm also watching it again.
Oh my God!
Can we talk about women for a second?
That sounds pretty boring. Let's not bother.
Fair enough.
That's so out of topic.
No, there were some good women in this film. I was really interested in the women.
Many
and I'm
of
not
them.
just saying that.
That's true. They were good women. I enjoyed watching them, learning their stories. I thought they were a bit thin. Not physically, although physically. Thin in terms of character. Maybe
a
another
bit
problem with the film.
pastiche.
I don't think we had a really great depth of character. But maybe that wasn't necessary because we did get it from Poogie. I don't know. Women.
Yeah, Poogie was the only richly described character. So what were the women then? We had his mother, who was prevented from seeing him.
Yes.
And we got a hint of her sadness and the way that they'd been separated. That was interesting.
Yes.
And we had the fearsome sight of the Empress Dowager, this otherworldly, sort of terrifying creature that we could barely understand. I think they'd particularly done up how weird and unusual she was to make her sort of as scary for us as she would have been for Puyi.
Yeah, she was like a giant beetle.
Yeah.
Or something otherworldly. That was good. We had his wet nurse. That's the one probably I want to talk about. The very Oedipal kind of thing going on there. And it's interesting with his... Well, like he clearly had... Because remember how he was still breastfeeding at however old he was? 9 or
he must
something.
have been 12 or something.
Or 12, yeah. But there was clearly something weird there. Like it was the way that he essentially sort of strokes her breast and is kneading her while he's breastfeeding. And then when she leaves, he says she wasn't my wet nurse, she was my butterfly.
Yeah, I didn't understand what he meant by butterfly. Do you think he was in love with her?
I think he had there was some weird Oedipus thing going on. That was my bet.
And he would just have no sense of what a healthy relationship looks like, right? He'd have had no role models for that, and just so much confusion. Yeah, just surrounded
no one to tell him that he
women
needed
that
to
were
stop,
basically his servants. Yeah, exactly.
Stop breastfeeding. Like he can do whatever he likes. So of course he's going to keep breastfeeding until he's.
Yeah.
I liked how they kept getting around him. They would just, he ostensibly was all powerful, but they do sneaky little things like that, like kidnap the wet nurse. And he knew he had to keep his mouth hidden, or they'd probably get rid of that without him looking. Things like that you suggest he's not quite as... And obviously, like, them just bowing whenever he wants to leave and not letting him out.
Yeah, it's tragic. He couldn't actually have anything that he really wanted until he was older.
Yeah. But I thought we had two father figures, obviously. We had the tutor who had a fatherly presence towards him, and then the re-education camp guy was also strangely...
you think he was like a father?
Well, like, the way that he brought him round... I don't quite know.
Yeah, they both guided him, didn't they? One of them with his very enthusiastic commitment, and one of them against every attempt he made to get away from it. Yeah, he had a sort of paternal kindness, didn't he?
Yeah.
It's interesting that China lost its emperor and neighboring Japan still has one.
Yeah. Yeah, as I thought, there was no revolution in Japan, was there? Yeah, I always thought it was an odd one, Japan. In the Second World War, it was so extreme and so mad, comparable to Nazi Germany, the level of sort of national fervour and just, trying to think of the word for it, just, how zealous everyone became, all focused around the emperor and the concept of this Japanese superiority. And then they were utterly defeated, unconditional surrender. And somehow the emperor was left in place. And there was this, agreement that he couldn't be worshipped as a god anymore. And the Americans made a lot of decisions about how Japanese life was going to be. But yeah, he was, and I think he was the emperor until the mid-80s, right? Emperor Hirohito. Which is a bizarre idea. It would be like Germany had lost the war and West Germany was still ruled by Adolf Hitler until the 80s or something. And it wasn't quite the same, because I think, like Puyi, he was a bit of a sort of puppet who didn't quite... he wasn't actually the instigator of this whole thing, but he was the figurehead of it. And bizarre that's still there. There's still an emperor. Well, we are preparing, are we not, for the coronation of King Charles III?
Yeah, I thought that while watching this. I was like, God, it's mad that we have a monarchy.
Yeah. We just decided not to get rid of that.
And Harry is going to the coronation.
Yay!
This is what it's become, a psychodrama for spoiled rich people. That's probably what it always was, wasn't it? Let's not kid ourselves.
I think so. And to be honest, that's not to the same extent as Puyi, but that a lot of them must feel kind of the same. People in the British royal family, I wonder how many of them just quietly would quite like to just get out and just live a peaceful life doing what they want, because they can't really have what they actually want any of the time. And
yet I bet they wouldn't if given the option. They'd be like Puyi. They want to cling to the golden teat of power.
I bet some of them, yeah. I bet some of them, if they had a chance, a real chance, they'd probably quietly slip out. But I reckon others would go for it and just cling on to whatever this whole charade is.
Wait, no, surely. Well, who knows? But I mean, they always have a real chance, right? Like Harry is the proof of that, isn't he? Always had the chance, and he chose to leave, and he left, and
yeah,
if other
look
people
what
also
happened.
wanted.
That's it. He's a pariah. He's hated. The vitriol against him for what he's done, and he's basically lost his family. That there must be a lot of them who could step down, could abdicate or whatever, but just must feel this terrible sense of responsibility and obligation to keep up this whole pretense. That's what I reckon, anyway.
Mm.
But yeah, I bet you're right as well, Laura. It must be intoxicating.
Yeah.
At the same time.
Just that sense that they're, above the rest of everyone. That must be difficult to give up if you've grown up your entire life believing you're inherently better than everyone and special. I don't know. Yeah. Don't trust him. Don't like the aristocracy.
Yeah. Vive la révolution.
Indeed. My brain went to try and replicate that in Chinese. I don't speak Chinese. There's no way I could have...
Don't you hate it when you try and speak a language and then realise you don't know a single word?
Happens all the time.
Yeah. It's like that old Yiddish saying, oh no, hang on, I don't speak a single word of Yiddish.
Okay.
Yes, I was thinking that the French Revolution did not end the monarchy because Napoleon happened afterwards. And Napoleon was Emperor of France.
Yeah, but he was brutally cut down, wasn't he?
Was he brutally cut down?
He was exiled.
Yeah.
How did he die? Did he? Because he didn't. Did he get off of that island? I forget that we mentioned in the Count of Monte
Well, he went to 2 islands. Napoleon was defeated to start with, and he was exiled to the Isle of Elba in the Mediterranean.
That's it.
Where he maintained the rank of emperor, and then yes, he did escape from that and reconquered the whole of France for 100 days. But then was defeated at Waterloo, and then he was sent what was it, St. Helena, where he died.
That's right.
Years later. So yes and no is the answer. Yes and no, respectively. Yeah.
No, Count of Monte Cristo. No, that was an epic.
That was sort of an epic.
If only they'd just, taken a leaf out of The Last Emperor's book, spent some time on it, developed it a bit, added another hour. Anyway, we've been through that.
That's what needed. Yeah. Oh, well.
Or they could have jazzed up The Last Emperor, cut off an hour, fabricate an elaborate revenge plot or something. Yeah, trim it down
more
a bit.
Hot air balloons. I thought that's what was missing. I thought the Emperor should arrive everywhere by hot air balloon.
Yeah.
We need a remake, don't we?
More fighting, sword fights. There must have been some of that going on. Yeah.
I'm glad you guys liked this film.
Yeah, I did. I really liked it. I'm glad I've seen it.
I wasn't totally sure whether you would, but I first felt that it was a really, really special film when he goes into the Forbidden City at the end, just having him walking around there as an old man and just thinking maybe he did that Like, we wouldn't know. Because he lived in the right city, I think. He totally could have done. And it's such a poignant thought that he would remember, there'd be all these tourists walking around a historical site, and just unbeknownst to everyone, the man himself who actually lived through it all is just quietly walking along behind them. I love that as a thought.
Wow, incredible. Any last thoughts?
It is just like when Pope Francis and Pope Benedict walked in the Sistine Chapel with all the tourists, while all the tourists were appreciating the painting.
Did they do that?
Well, that's what they said in the film, The Two Popes on Netflix.
Yeah. I liked that.
Claire, any last thoughts?
I don't think there are any. I don't have any wild symbolism to offer.
Think of something.
Think
of something.
Oh my goodness, I can't think of anything.
What do we got? The Emperor.
The Emperor was a symbol for the Empire collapsing. Yes. That's... No.
He was the head of the whole system, and he was...
I don't think that counts as symbolism.
I think that might be quite literal.
In the same way that the prison guard kept him alive, stopped him from killing himself, in the same way the Communist Party kept the Empire alive, or vestiges of the Empire, dressing it up and sending tourists round it and making movies about it.
That is the way to strip something of its power.
Yeah.
Empty it out like a shell and then sell it for its aesthetic.
Brilliant. Nailed it.
All right, there we go. At the end of the film, the Forbidden City is just the shell. It's just the decoration. That's all that's left. But Puyi has lost all the decoration and all the adornment, and he's just the pure man. That's all that's left of him is himself.
Oh.
He's finally
I knew
found
you
himself.
could do it.
How's that?
I love it.
There we go.
Excellent.
Yeah, they both ended up as the most healthy versions of themselves. Him as a human being, and the city as a place people can enjoy themselves and learn.
Yes.
Well done, guys. I missed you guys.
We should do this more often.
Yeah.
Every day. I want Super Saturday one day, okay?
Every day.
I'm still sold on it.
Super
Saturday.
It took us so long to watch this film because they were just the sort of through the sleepless nights and the sort of short evenings to kind of desperately try to eat something before having to carry a crying baby around with it. There wasn't a lot of time where we were like, oh, should we watch the next bit of the film?
Isn't that what her baby box is for when she cries?
That's not what the baby box is for. There's very specific instructions on the baby box that say do not put the lid on the baby box while the baby is inside the baby box.
That's why I'm not having any babies. I like your baby a lot, though.
Oh, thank you.
You've got a good baby. You've done a good one.
Yeah, we're pretty pleased with ourselves.
Yeah. Lovely.
Nothing more to say if we...
Great, I'll play the music.
Lovely. Lovely.
Beautiful.
Very nice.
Who's in the hat?
It's just Claire.
It's just me. I don't have a film to suggest. I've
no.
all day to think of this. Wait, I'll just check what's on my keeps. All right, okay. How about Belfast?
Cool.
Oh, I love that film. Yes.
2021.
Next time, Belfast 2021. Thank you, Claire.
Okay,
There you go.
definitely not Mutiny! Exclamation mark. There's still time. You could submit.
Mutiny! Exclamation mark the musical.
Unfortunately, I've already made my choice, so I won't be able to.
No, we've got a process in place. It's there to be
We
used.
have got a process.
We do.